Please support the Keystone chapter of the NFB of Pennsylvania by going to ican'tseeyou.com/coffee. That will take you to the White Cane Coffee Company. When you make a purchase there, we'll earn a 10% commission. We appreciate it. Thanks.
From Studio B in Swarthmore, this is the I Can't See You podcast with David. It's like blind people for dummies.
Hello there, and welcome to episode 118 of the I Can't See You podcast. My name is David, at David Bench on all the socials. I really appreciate you joining me for this episode. And it's not clickbait what the title says. And I'll get to that in a second. I do have a couple of funny stories to tell you, or I'm guessing the majority of the podcast. And I'll get to that in a second. But I did want to mention one thing that I also found funny. I've talked over many episodes about things that you can do to help or that you can not do so blind people are included and understand what you're talking about. One of the things I said was don't just say it's right over there while you're pointing, because somebody you can't see is not going to see you pointing somewhere. And one of the many things that I complain about is things not being accessible. Well, we had someone who is blind make a donation to the Keystone chapter of the NFB of Pennsylvania, and I'll leave a link in the show note if you want to do the same. But we didn't get it. And we were trying to troubleshoot why we didn't get it. There's a way that you can do it via a website, nfbp.org, and then there's, you wind your way through there and you get to the Keystone chapter and you can make a donation. Or you can easily just do a payment. Our PayPal address is keystonetreasurer@nfbp.org. Well, this person opted to just pay with the email address. And when the person contacted our president, Harriet Go, she's like, I didn't hear from David, since I'm the treasurer, about the donation. And so I looked in our account and it wasn't there. And I looked at the transactions and I looked through my emails to see if I got that email, and I didn't get it. So I talked to this person and I asked her, I said, how did you do it? And she said, I did it via email. I said, well, if you have the receipt, if you could send me that would be great. And she did. However, she sent the receipt as I think it was a JPEG, not 100% sure, a PNG, JPEG, GIF, whatever. Well, when I was using my computer to look at it, I couldn't see it. I couldn't see what the email address said. I zoomed all the way in and, the screen reader doesn't read an image. And so I looked and it looked right. But again, it was very blurry to me and I just couldn't make it out. So I had to go, I emailed the receipt to Liz late in the day that it supposedly happened. She sent the receipt, but Liz had gone to sleep without checking her email, so she didn't check. So I wanted to get it done that day. So Jane was awake, so I sent it to her via text message. She looked at it, and she noticed that it said Keystone Treasurer at nfbp.org. The person had left the second R in treasurer off. So, I emailed her back and I explained it to her. I said, hopefully PayPal can help you figure out how to fix it. And by the next morning, by the time I checked my email, it was fixed and she made the donation. And so it made me laugh because I know I've told you a million times how I tell you not to point, but then I point, and I find it all the time now, especially with the dog. And believe me, we'll get to the dog in a minute. I will say, go get that ball, and I will point to the direction where I threw it. And he'll look at it and then just leave it. But if you're talking to a blind person, if I were to do that to someone who's blind, the ball's right over there, and point. And if I were on video, I actually am pointing to the wall on the other side of the office. So it made me laugh that this person, again, who is blind, who was kind enough to make this donation, $50 donation to the Keystone chapter, and tried to do it via the email address. And then when it didn't work, she sent me the receipt, which a blind person can't read. And I got a good chuckle out of it as I thought about that. So I'm wondering, and at our next board meeting, I'm going to talk to the other board members to see what they do when talking to someone with sight that you shouldn't do when you're talking to someone without sight. Again, the pointing for me is the big is the big thing. So, it's just interesting that that I do it that way. And again, if you do it to me, I wouldn't know what you're doing. If you point over there, oh yeah, the bathroom's right over there. I don't know. So, and it's like my mom used to do. She would say, "Look at that right over there," and I'm like, "Where? Right over there," she would say. I'm curious to see what the other board members say about it. But we'll see. I will report back next week. And I thought that was funny. And I'm glad that I had that to talk about, because otherwise it's the Ziggy show. And I was on the phone last night with the breeder. And she said, when I was growing up, my mom used to say to me, "You're a problem, but you're never boring." And I started to laugh because she was saying the same about Ziggy. Let me tell you the week it has been with the dog. It is hysterical and a little scary. And I'm guessing he's keeping us on our toes. So last Friday the 19th of March, he went to the vet. And as I mentioned before, when he had eaten the sock and we went to an emergency vet, they said, we could see how excited he was to talk to people or go up to people. He doesn't actually bark yet. And so when we were at the vet in the car on Friday, waiting, and the person starts walking to the car, he got so excited and was so happy, and went in with this girl that came out to take him in, and he was having the last of his parvo shots, whatever that's called, distemper. So now he's had that, and we can take him out. We took him for his first walk, and he was a little nervous at that first walk. And the next couple of days, he was a little better. And we didn't take him yesterday because it was raining like crazy here yesterday. So we didn't take him. So when she brought him back out, he's pulling and, trying to go every which way and doing everything. She said to Liz, "He's like a toddler on crack. He couldn't wait to get into everything in that room that he was in." And so we had to have the shots, and we wanted his nails trimmed, because we thought they were getting long. They said that they weren't that long, but they trimmed them anyway. But they had to give him something to distract him from trying to, grab the clippers out of the person's hands, grab the person's hand. They ended up giving him cheese in some sort of bottle that distracted him enough. But he was grabbing, she said, for everything. And that's how he is. He's just that way. He is just very curious, and he wants everything. He eats everything, which is a problem, and I'll get to that in a second. And, so when she said that, I thought, ooh, is it okay that you say that? I mean, I don't know we ever want to see a toddler on crack, but I mean, we all laughed out loud pretty hard when she said it, and it really describes him, because he is a toddler, and he's got all that extra energy, and it's just kind of funny how he is. So while the title of this episode may seem like clickbait, it really isn't. I mean, she really did say it. So that was Friday. He weighed 33 pounds. We knew he was a pretty big boy. And, we brought him home, and we were excited about being able to take him out and about. And so like I said, the next day, we took him for a walk. Actually, Sunday we took him for a walk, because Saturday we were out in the backyard and he was running around, and we figured he was pretty beat from that, because we were out there doing some maintenance and moving our shed a little bit, so we can have the final part of the fence put in a week or two, hopefully a week or two. So on Sunday, I was having lunch. Or making lunch, I should say. And, we're very careful with what we put on the counters, because as I've said before, and if you go back, I believe it's on Instagram. I know on Facebook I have it. Try Ziggy and the Man. It might be on there as well. He will jump up on the counters, and he's curious. Sometimes he just wants to look. Sometimes he wants to grab stuff off. So when we put stuff, I figure, okay, I was going to make tea. I was, boiling the water, and I put my mug about 4 or 5 inches in from the edge. And the counter that I'm speaking about, we have the only counter that's really safe for him not to get to stuff is this island that we have in our kitchen. It's probably, I don't know, about 6 feet by maybe 30 inches, maybe 36 inches. I don't think it's 36, but maybe 30 or 32 inches. So, we thought we were safe leaving stuff like 4 or 5 inches in. So I have my empty tea mug, and it's a big 24-ounce mug. So, I don't just put 1 tea bag in, I put 3. I put it there, and Jane came in, and I think she was bringing her dish in, and I was at the stove. I don't remember if I had started making. I was probably having an omelet. I don't know if I had started it or if I was just waiting for the water to boil for my tea. She yells at him, "Ziggy, no!" He grabbed the tea bags out of the empty mug. And I thought, how could he have gotten those? The mug was 4 or 5 inches in. Well, of course, the tea bags, the paper that's attached to the string, was maybe only 3.5 or 4.5 inches in, depending on how far in the mug was. So he was able to jump up, lunge forward. His nose is probably, 3 or 4 inches long by now. So, he was able to lunge and get it. And that's what he does. He lunges when he wants something that he sees something up there or on the kitchen table. So he got those. Unfortunately, Jane grabbed them before he swallowed those, because that would be bad, because black tea is toxic for dogs. And so I just got some new tea bags and pushed the mug in a little bit further. So that was on Sunday. Then I took this very cute picture of him on Sunday, which I posted on Facebook that day or the next day. And I'll put it on Ziggy and the Man on the Instagram account, because it is a great picture. Later that day, Liz makes pasta sauce. She makes a big batch of it, and then she puts it in smaller plastic containers and then freezes it. And she and Jane eat it, like usually once a week. And a batch will last, 6 or 7 weeks. So, she has it in this big pot, and she makes it in the morning, but it takes, all day to cool. And she cools it in the big pot, because cooling it in the smaller containers, we don't have enough room. Whether the kitchen table, which we don't trust anything on the kitchen table, because the dog can get to just about every part of the kitchen table because it's lower. And, maybe there's, a 6-inch stripe down the middle that if there's nothing overhanging or anything underneath of what, Ziggy wants, that he can get. He knows that if he sees something on top of like a placemat, he will go for the placemat, pull the placemat closer, and then grab what he wants. So she's putting the sauce in these plastic containers on the counter. On the island, because our other counters are only, like a foot deep. So nothing is safe. So all of a sudden I hear, "Ziggy, no." And I come upstairs, and Liz is on the floor cleaning up pasta sauce. The dog is outside, and he had grabbed one of the containers and was able to tip it so that he could dump it out and eat it. And dump it all over himself, and dump it all over the floor and all over the dishwasher, because again, the island has a sink and the dishwasher and a cabinet under the sink. And so he is coated in sauce, at least the front half of him is. And there's sauce, like I said, all over the floor that Liz is cleaning up. And of course, that was one night of sauce for Liz and Jane. I don't know how much he ate. Nobody's quite sure, because we don't know how much landed on him, how much he ate, and how much was on the counter. The meatballs were pretty much gone, so he definitely ate those. And so that led to his first bath. Now, we didn't have pet shampoo here. which I'm guessing that the next time we go to the store, we're going to pick up. So we found something that we had that Jane uses for her tattoos, a shampoo. It's a baby shampoo by a certain company. I don't remember the brand. I'll put a link in the show notes. So he's in the bathtub, and I'm trying to watch because I know what kind of hilarity is going to ensue. And finally, he's trying to get out, so they had to close the door because Liz and Jane were in there. Jane was helping more than I would have. Jane got a couple of pictures, which I will try and post somewhere, probably on Ziggy and the Man Instagram. I have not tried because I don't have the pictures yet from Jane. So we did that, and then, of course, we had to dry him. And Jane and I dried him. We tried the blow dryer. He was both scared and intrigued by the blow dryer, so we just went back to the towels. And that seemed to get him dry enough. And then, like I said, we took him for a walk, and he was very nervous. He heard other dogs, and, he was, curious, but, like I said, a little nervous. So we get back from the walk, and we think, okay, now he's tired because he's gone through all this traumatic stuff between the pasta sauce and the bath and then the walk. He's tired. Well, he was exploring the counters. Jacob was in the kitchen, and he was exploring the counters, and then he jumped towards the stove, which was off, the stove in the oven. But he jumped in a way that he not only pressed up against the dials to turn the burners on, he actually turned one on. And we're not quite sure how he did that because he likes to, once he's up on the counter, he likes to kind of, shuffle his feet and walk along the counter going sideways. And I don't quite know how he did that. So I'm guessing that when he jumped, he then moved, he was leaning up again, because you have to push to turn the stove on. You don't just turn the dial, you have to push it in and turn. So he must have been leaning on one of the dials to turn it on and then moved to would have had to have been the left, because you have to turn it counterclockwise to turn it on. He turned it enough to get the electronic starter to start and the gas to start and turn the fire on. So the more he does, the more makes me think maybe he really should have been named Linguini. Because he did like the sauce, and he continued to lick after his bath and after the stove. He evidently still had a little bit of pasta sauce in one of his paws. I don't know if it was on the side and Liz missed it, but he continued to lick it, and he liked it. But we haven't found anything that he doesn't like to eat. It is just unreal. So that was just one day. That was Sunday. That all happened on Sunday. So, we're thinking, wow, that's a good story. And I'm thinking, okay, well, there's a little short episode of the podcast. That's the story, but behind like a main story. And then yesterday happened. And one of the things that we've worked on with him is to stay before he eats his lunch or dinner or breakfast, whatever. And we did this when we had Zamboni, and we did this with him. Liz started with him. Before he eats, he has to sit. Then we put the food in his bowl, and then we tell him to stay. When we don't have something in his bowl, we'll put something on the ground, whether it's a banana or carrot or zucchini, which he all loves, and broccoli. Loves it all. And I'll get to that in a sec. We tell him to leave it. And we have trained him to do like 3 things. We tried to get him to give his paw. He won't do it. He will not do it. He looks at you like saying, I'm not doing that. And I think he knows what we mean, but he just doesn't want to do it. Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. But it's funny that he won't do that. But he will do this. He will sit there for a long stretch of time while waiting for him to be told he's a good boy and he can go get it. Or if it's something on the floor like a carrot or a, zucchini, whatever, he will leave it for quite a long time. And I'm shocked at that because everything else he goes for so quickly. I dropped a Hershey Kiss yesterday before I opened it. Again, I can't bend my fingers very well. So when I got it out of the container, which is up high, because everything is up high, so he can't get to, I dropped it. It hit off of the cabinet that it was, below or above, and then bounced onto the floor. He was sleeping about 6 feet away. When it hit the countertop, he opened his eyes, and, after the Hershey Kiss hit the floor, he was on it. And of course, chocolate is bad for dogs. I'm not sure how tinfoil is, but, I think, oh my God, I have to get this. I didn't see where it was, but he did, and he had his mouth on it, but he hadn't swallowed it yet, and I was able to get it out of his mouth. So with that, there was no leaving. There was, he saw it, he reacted, and he was all over it. I had dropped a grape on the floor a couple days ago, and he was in the other room, and he heard it hit on the floor, and I couldn't find it. Again, grape's also not good for dogs. He came in slowly because it was at night, and he's looking around, and he got to it, and he started sniffing it. And it reminded me of when they take the pigs out to find the truffles. He found it but didn't eat it. He was just sniffing it, so I was able to grab it and wash it off, and then I ate it. So it's kind of funny that he won't do a lot of things, but we can get him to leave his most favorite food for, again, I probably have left it 30 seconds to a minute, some things. Earlier, before I started recording, he has to be in his cage while I record, because I'm recording in the basement in Studio B. His cage is on the first floor, the main floor. And, the office and Studio B, not quite ready to have him down. We got a cabinet, so I've put some stuff in there. We have to go through some things while Liz is on spring break. We're going to go through things. I'll clean it up. We'll vacuum it again. And, then he could come down here and wait. And hopefully there's not too much trouble he can get to in here, as long as he has some toys. So the fact that he will leave something when you tell him to, but then go for some things that he shouldn't have. And this takes me to yesterday. Every afternoon I make iced tea. And when I put the lemon or lime in the tea, we use Select-A-Size paper towels, the Bounty Select-A-Size. So I just use 2 Select-A-Sizes, folded in half. I wash the lemon or lime off, roll it and cut them and squeeze it in, on the counter. And I leave the paper towels, pretty far in. Well, once Liz gets started with making dinner, sometimes those paper towels get shifted, and I leave it up there because I use that as a preliminary wipe down after, when I clean the kitchen at night. So I'm going to have to stop doing that, because yesterday the paper towel got moved a little bit, and he was able to get up, lunge, and eat the double Select-A-Size paper towel. We were worried about it, but we thought, it's only one paper towel. He's a pretty big dog at this point. He should be okay. About a half an hour to an hour later, I guess about an hour later, there was another single sheet of Select-A-Size on the counter that evidently got moved closer to the edge that he was able to get up and get. And then we started worrying, and we're like, do we call? We were eating dinner, so do we call and take him to the vet? Our vet who's 5 minutes away. It was closed at this point. It was, 7:30 at night. And we called the place out in Malvern, which is about 30 or 35 minutes away. And what do we do? And again, at this point, he had eaten the first paper towel at probably 5:45 or so. So we're getting to the point where there's not much they're going to be able to do, because after 2 hours, the contents are out of his stomach. You can't make him throw it up because it's too late. It's already working its way through. So we determined that there was no way that we called, and they said, well, they may make him throw up, and, you can bring him in if you want. And we started doing the math, figuring it's 30 or 35 minutes away. It was a rainy day yesterday, so it's probably going to be even a little longer. We thought we better not take him, because by the time we get there, there's not much they're going to be able to do anyway. So I texted our breeder, Diane, And I said, what can we do? She said, give him hydrogen peroxide to make him throw up. And Liz and Jane immediately got worried about it. And, I did as well, but, sometimes I start thinking like there are ways to do things that don't require running to a store and getting a certain device. As I've mentioned on many episodes, blind folks always figure out workarounds with things that, to make things happen or to get things done. And I'm thinking, okay, well, this isn't bad. And it just made me think of, I've been watching this show on HGTV called Escape the Chateau. And the guy in the show, the husband, is very mechanical. So when he saw an oil tank, for example, he thought, hey, I can make that into a pig roaster instead of going out and buying a pig roaster for, a couple €1,000 or €1,000, whatever it was. So I thought, okay, well, here's a breeder telling me what to do. She's done it before. I figured, okay, let's do it. And again, Liz and Jane were not, Jane especially was not on board, but, Liz was nervous doing it. So, the breeder said, just make sure the peroxide is fresh. And, we have peroxide here, but we don't know when it's been opened, if it's still potent. So we run over to CVS. CVS is about a quarter mile away. And we get some peroxide and we bring it back and we're supposed to give him a tablespoon. Well, as Liz is giving it to Ziggy, he's so excited to have it, he knocks it out of her hand. So we don't know how much he has. So we're just waiting and waiting and waiting. Well, he never threw up. So who knows how much he got of it. And, and I texted Diane, I said, how long does it usually take for this to work? And I said, I explained to her that, he knocked it out of her hand and, we don't know how much he got. We don't want to give him more. And she called me and she said, look, just leave it go. I was talking to another breeder friend of mine who also breeds Goldens and, it's paper towels. He'll probably pass it. And just keep an eye on it. Maybe give him some olive oil to help it come out. But giving him too much olive oil may give him diarrhea. So keep an eye on him tonight. So of course, when Liz gave him the olive oil, very excited to have it, he knocked her hand, and he didn't knock as much out as he did of the peroxide, but he did knock some onto the floor. But he did clean it up. He liked the olive oil. And again, Linguini would have been a great name. So we're watching him all night, wondering if he's okay. And, he was fine all last night. We took him out. I had Jane go out with me when I took him out for his last time out of the night. I took him out a little earlier than I normally do. It was in the 11 o'clock hour. Usually I take him out in the 12 o'clock hour. And I think he just ended up peeing that time. Not that matters. But again, if he were to stop drinking and eating or stop going to the bathroom, we'd have to worry about a blockage. So again, something we were worried about. And I even considered, again, his cage is on the, the main level. So I even thought about, sleeping on the couch just in case there was an issue. And when I was getting ready to go to bed, I checked in on him and he popped his head up and he looked at me. I said, nope, you seem good. I'm going to go, and I went to bed in the bed. When Liz got him this morning, he was evidently pretty energetic and it seemed like he was in good shape. He went to the bathroom and then came back in, and Liz always has before she goes to work. She makes some chai, I guess like an iced chai. I don't know if she's iced or warmed. I guess depends on, how it is outside. Well, he was excited for it and jumped up on her while she was drinking it while sitting on the couch and knocked it out, knocked it all over her, got her all wet and the couch all wet. And so that white couch is getting less white by the day. So, and as the day went on, I'm recording this on Thursday, the day the episode drops. And he seemed fine. I had him out after he ate lunch just an hour or two ago, and he had gone to the bathroom, And then I got ready to give him a treat for going to the bathroom, and he went some more. So I texted Jane. I said, there's a multiple debris field. Could you come down and help me? And she came down and found it, and noticed as she was picking it up, there were paper towels in at least part of, in one of the debris fields. And she said it was quite a lot, not of paper towel. He pooped quite a lot. Not that you needed to know that, but it helps the story, I think. So we were fortunate that we didn't go all the way over to the vet in Malvern last night, because, like I said, it would have been a wasted trip, and would have cost us money. And not that we're against paying money to make him better should he need it, but by the time we got there wouldn't have been much they could do. So there's never a dull moment, and at this point, he was so happy at lunchtime. We were playing ball outside, and he gets so excited by that. And again, one of the things I'm trying to train him to do, I throw a ball, and we found a softball the other day that he loves. He loves going after. It's a softball Jane used to practice pitching with back in the day. He loves going after. I don't know if it's because it's big. But he will bring it almost all the way back sometimes. Tennis ball, he'll get to it, he'll pick it up, he'll drop it, and then run off and do something else. So then I go and retrieve the ball and then throw it again. And but he gets so jazzed up that he's like, he's excited and he's jumping up all over me. And, like when he jumps, the dog's big thing are to, jump with an open mouth, like a shark coming out of the water for lunch. He's ripping all my clothes. He jumped on me and I have a shirt on it, not tucked in. And, so the back of it has a rip in it now. And he ripped a flannel shirt the other day. So sooner or later, I'm going to need some new clothes, I think. But he's, it's a puppy thing with the chewing and we got him this Gorilla Wood thing that he likes. But again, he likes to chew it and lean it on somebody or have somebody else hold it while he chews it, because it's huge, and he likes to prop it up. Like earlier today, he propped it up on my leg. The problem is when he does that, sometimes he deviates from chewing this quote-unquote bone to chewing on my leg, I guess because there's more flesh on the leg than than the hunk of Gorilla Wood. But I will put a link to that, and of course it'll be an affiliate link to the item at Amazon. And at this pace, I'm going to need that since I'm going to need some new clothes. I'm just trying to keep my jeans from, he ripped one pair of jeans that, maybe he ripped it in a spot where it'll look fashionably okay. It's on the thigh and the, front, so maybe that'll be okay. But it is never dull with this dog. And it's just kind of funny. As I was saying to a friend earlier today, we were going to CVS last night to get the peroxide, and when we were leaving, I put my mask on because I've tried to just leave it over one ear when I until I need to put it on fully, but it's light, so when the wind catches it, it's like a sail and it blows off. So I try not to put it on, either put it all the way on or hold it in my hand. Well, with the dog, I don't want to hold it in my hand because he will eat it and then we'll have to go to the vet. So I had it on and he saw me putting it on and he came over and he started jumping on me and trying to, he grabbed my forearm like he was trying to hold on to me, and he's wagging his tail. He knew we were leaving. And because I never really leave, during the day, he seemed a little nervous and, got a little worried and I told him it'll be okay. I'll be back soon. We're just going, quick. And, and I thought that was funny because he doesn't seem to do that when Liz leaves in the morning for school, when she puts him in. So it's just kind of funny. And it is nice having a dog, though. And it'll be especially nice once, Jane is back in New York and, like today, Jacob is working. So it would basically be just me here today. And it's going to be an issue sometimes when I've got to find, like I said, I don't always see where he goes to the bathroom to clean it up. And sometimes I have to wait for somebody else to do it. If it's a sunny day, once the sun is shining on it, I could see it. If it's in the shadows, or in the shade before that, I normally can't see it. But once the sun shines on it, I can clean it up. Obviously, I can't tell what's in it. It's, just, a brown blob. But it'll be nice to have, a companion while Liz is at work and Jacob is at work. And, like I said, Jane will be in New York at work. As I said to Ziggy today, I said, look, everybody's working, buddy. It's just me and you. And it's true. So that is what I have for you for this episode. And again, not clickbait. It sounds like it, and I'm interested to see if it draws a couple more downloads because I used the quote from the vet, Toddler on crack. But we'll see. I'll report back next week with another episode of the I Can't See You podcast. I really appreciate you listening to episode 118. I hope you're staying safe and being well. Continuing to wash your hands, wear your mask if you want. If not, don't come too close to me, please. And I will talk to you next week. Take care.
Thank you for listening to the I Can't See You podcast with David. Please rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen. And don't forget to share the podcast with your friends.